We're live, baby.
Do we have audio, though? Do we have video? Do we have technical difficulties? Because this is Monad in the Morning, your home of technical difficulties.
Except for today.
Except for today. Bill Monday is going to be very disappointed with us because
there's no technical difficulties?
There's no technical difficulties.
Wait,
but this,
everything's working perfectly?
I guess so. That's a good thing because this is Monad in the morning. Let's go. Big episode. I think we're at number 33, but we had a more important title to put on the stream today. It does not say episode 33. What does it say?
What's it say today, Daniel?
It looks like it says Airdrop Claim Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday.
Throughput
Tuesday.
Throughput Thursday is dead. It is no longer my favorite day of the week. We've made a big pivot. Tuesday is now the best day ever.
Tuesday, yes. And to lay out, because I'm guessing there's a lot of people that are watching Monad in the Morning for the first time today. Just want to lay out.
Welcome.
Welcome to Monad in the Morning, Throughput Thursday, your home for any news about Monad and some other general market commentary and jokes.
And jokes.
And some jokes.
Movie references.
Early 2000s movie references. Yes, one thing we definitely want to call out, this is the internet. There are people that are going to try to scam you and steal money and attention, especially around something that is sensitive, like the airdrop claim. Just want to say, you do not have to have an extreme sense of urgency and rush in and do everything as quickly as possible. Take your time, make sure you're being very safe in any links that you click. There's not a time sensitivity in the window of a day or something. There will be a decent amount of time to actually go in and use the claim portal. Just want to call out, you don't need to freak out and go click everything super fast. That is how you get scammed. Just be calm. Keep your wits about you. Have common sense, guys. It's crypto. It's 2025.
Yeah, don't want to come all this way and then have a little bit of a snafu in the excitement that ends up taking a great thing and turning it into a tough experience. So be safe out there. Watch what links you're clicking. Watch who you're getting information from, because there's a lot of people that like to scam, but there's also a lot of people that like to make things up.
Oh my God, there are a lot of people that like to make things up.
And you can't believe what you read on the internet unless it is coming from the @Monad official account with 1.2 million followers.
Oh, we're getting up there.
Wow.
Yes.
Inching up.
It is, especially around the fake news and misinformation things that we've been seeing. I woke up to, it had to have been 1,000 Twitter notifications this morning of people taking clips, changing words, saying you really can't trust anything that's coming from non-official channels. And honestly, you should be a little bit skeptical even of official channels. People are actively trying to hack into personal accounts, company accounts. Just be calm, be safe. We want everyone to have a very good outcome here.
And if you want a deep dive on user security in crypto, check out Pipeline podcast episode. I don't know the exact episode, but it's literally called User Security in Crypto. We had Omar as a special guest giving us the rundown on what to do, what not to do, how to keep yourself safe as best as you possibly can. It's an important time to brush up on those security practices because there's going to be a lot happening on chain. There's going to be a lot happening in the Monad ecosystem beyond the airdrop claim. So be safe, be careful, don't rush. But yes, these are some very exciting times, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think the natural inclination when any new thing launches, whether it crypto or even beyond crypto, the natural inclination is just to compare it to whatever is most similar. Like, oh, the Monad launch like could be like other chain launches, and I would, for those who like to, anticipate what might be coming, I would caution against that. Monad likes to do things differently. This has been a huge effort to rebuild the full EVM stack from the ground up. It's not a fork.
It's not a fork.
Monad doesn't like to copy what others have already done. We like to build new things and do our best to push the space forward. So just the tip of the iceberg. Lots of fun to come.
Absolutely. There are a lot of things that have never been done before that Monad is the first to do. Almost definitely taking over 3 years to build a blockchain before launching anything. That has to be a first. No one has ever pulled that off before. And there's a lot of other really cool new things that will be coming. So stay tuned. But just specifically because the airdrop announcement was today, be safe. Don't rush. You will have some time.
And obviously, airdrop claim and the announcement that Tuesday is going to be a big day. Tuesday is coming. That is clearly dominating the timeline, the conversations today. But we would be remiss if we didn't call out another pretty big announcement out of the Monad eco, and that is the Blockstreet raise.
Wow.
Blockstreet has raised $11.5 million, led by Hack VC to build the future of tokenized stocks and equities on Monad.
God, that is the best sound. Oh my goodness. What one monster raise.
Raise.
Tokenized equities, very close to my heart. Of all of the random verticals that have come out that people seem to be very bullish on, you have prediction markets, you have perp exchanges, you have tokenized stocks and equities, you have payments and stable coins. These are all great things. We love them. But tokenized equities have a special place in my heart because to me, in 2017, when I was just a young lad, that was one of the first things I thought of. I'm like, well, shouldn't stocks just trade on here? And it's equal access to everyone. It seems pretty fair. There's a lot of things coming. Larry Fink talking about tokenized equities, like everything should be on chain. Couple important things. You're going to need a fast settlement layer for tokenized equities to trade at the speed of the NASDAQ. You can't do that. There's more than 10 trades per second. There's a lot of trades per second. You're probably going to want a very fast and very cheap and very secure EVM compatible layer 1 in order to do those types of settlements. So shout out Blockstreet. I'm really excited. I actually have not talked to their team before. I'm really excited to get to know them and get to work. Let's bring tokenized equities to market.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to call this out in particular, because one, it's a big day. People are excited about variety of different news, and don't want this one, getting swept under the rug or slipping off of people's radar. It's pretty cool to think that, rewinding 2 or 3 years to think about all the TradFi institutional interest in crypto generally at this point. Mm-hmm. I think most people would have said no way.
No way. I would have said no way.
Yeah.
I did. I said it.
There you
go. I said it.
Tremendous.
Tremendous. Gosh, I had something really good to mention, and I just can't remember what it was now. Blockstreet, big raise. Oh, I got it. I believe this brings us to over $100 million in total fundraising for projects building natively on top of Monad in the Monad ecosystem, which is a huge milestone. Monad itself has gotten a lot of attention because it's sick as hell and it's fast and people like it. But literally the only reason that Monad is important is because it enables really cool things to be built on top of it. That is the only purpose of Monad. And so seeing the ecosystem get so much investor interest, so much builder interest, and now starting to see a lot of retail interest in using these apps, that's the best thing. That's the main thing that you hope for. So over $100 million in funding so far. Before mainnet, again, Monad doing things that no one has ever done before. That has to be a record. If that's not, somebody call me on it. You can clip this and clown on me and dunk on me. But if it is a record, then I hope somebody clips it and goes, he was right.
I think what's interesting is what Monad is unlocking is we're going to see a lot of things that have never been done before, that have never, like, we couldn't even have imagined, because it's unlocking the ability to go, okay, now we can actually do these things. Like, you never would have guessed Facebook and Instagram and these particular apps became anything when the internet first came around. It was like, we now have unlocked the ability to even dream about new things, and that's what is going to happen from here on out.
I think that's like what you're talking about, Jessup, I think is like one of the biggest challenges in telling people that have a general sense of what crypto is and what's going on in crypto. I think it's the biggest challenge of communicating why Monad is different, because that core narrative has been around for a while. Like, oh, if you build a chain that's faster and cheaper, then you unlock all this new design space. And that's been kind of like the core narrative for a lot of L1, L2 launches over the past 3 years. And generally that's like, it's a really hard thing to do, right? Like the tech has to be good, the ecosystem, resources and support have to be good. There has to be a means by which you can attract builders and users. And there's just been so much chain fatigue with so many, launches and squandered dreams that I think it's like,
Squandered.
When you actually are doing things in a net new way, and this primitive is finally coming to light, it's very natural that people would be skeptical of it, that people would be like, well, I feel like I've heard this before. You should be skeptical, but also I think this is the time where, one, Monad starts to feel real. We know mainnet is on the horizon. We know that the Airdrop claim is going to kick off on Tuesday. So now it's like, okay, this feels real. This is worth paying attention to. And I think that sentiment is definitely reflected on Twitter. You have a lot more people kind of coming out from behind the scenes and talking about why they're excited on Monad, why they're hopeful on Monad, and why Monad is pretty different. So like I was saying, only the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot to come, but these are exciting times for sure. Exciting times. What else is going on? Oh, well, for anyone tuning in from the Asia Pacific region, you are probably keenly aware of the events that transpired over the past couple weeks in Korea and Singapore. Bunch of great opportunities to meet the Monad Foundation team, meet the ecosystem, meet James Hunsaker, the legendary guru behind Monad Tech, leading the charge over at Category Labs. So a lot of great events happened over the past couple weeks, and one or a few of those events featured some physical Monad cards. Monad cards has been a pretty exciting topic lately, and some of the team brought us back a couple packs of these wonderful physical Monad cards, and I think we got to break this open here on the stream today. What do we think?
Let's do it. Sorry, I just found out I have a Telegram impersonator coming at me of a fairly sophisticated actor, it seems.
See, this is exactly what we were talking about like 5 minutes ago. Unfortunately, this is crypto, and there's a lot of bad actors out there that try and steal hard-earned things. So
like my identity and technically my CryptoPunk. He right-click saved my CryptoPunk. So some things are excusable, some are inexcusable. This would fall in line with the inexcusable. Please be safe. Even if you think it, like, double check addresses. This guy has my Telegram in his bio, so it actually looks pretty legitimate. You got to just be safe out there. Even when you think it's good, double, triple check.
Sora's even making it harder. So like you have to quadruple check because AI is getting real.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I had one thing on the skeptical side too.
Go get them.
It is very natural. The burden is on us at the Monad Foundation and on you as part of the Monad community to show people that this is not just some random crypto project, right? It is completely legitimate, has been building for over 3 years, coming up to launch, and it is okay to be excited about. One, like, it makes sense to be skeptical of new projects in crypto. For example, imagine your mom called you up and she's like, hey, I just heard about this new crypto project and I'm excited about it. Should I be skeptical? You'd probably be like, yes, mom, you should be skeptical of this new crypto project that you just heard about online. Because usually it is not, there are just not good things that are happening. It is a dark forest where there are bad people trying to do bad things. But we're telling you, this is not one of those things. I'm sorry to cut you off, Danny. This is my first
Don't ever
sophisticated
apologize.
impersonator.
Don't ever apologize. These are important topics. Don't fall for scammers and peel back the layers of the onion. Do a little DYOR. If you look underneath the hood, you'll find that this wasn't just built for 3 years because they're slow builders.
Imagine imagine watching Keone podcast. You're like, this guy's the slowest builder.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
God.
it's like it's. I mean, I don't have anything to benchmark it against, but it's probably actually a relatively quick timeline to output what has been output here.
I do. Here's an example for you.
Okay.
Imagine I was like, hey, I have one friend and he spent a week building a sandcastle. My other friend just spent 3 years building a sandcastle. Which one do you think is going to be more extravagant?
Well, let's hope the 3 years one.
Imagine, dude. Imagine what this guy built.
Yes. Yeah. But the thing in crypto is like the one of the ways that you could easily go viral on Twitter, and we've certainly seen it before, is like, look what this 16-year-old kid built in his mom's like attic
washing machine
in 3 days on a Acer from 2006.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's cool, especially if the product is cool. But when you're doing something at this scale, and then, like I was saying, you peel back the layers of the onion, you realize that these were some of the top quant traders building the most performant, low latency trading systems in TradFi for 10 plus years prior to getting into crypto and being like, wow, we could apply these same skills that we applied to traditional finance and traditional trading in the high frequency trading space to Monad, this brand new rebuild of the entire EVM stack, increasing performance by 1000x, low fees, 100% compatible. That's pretty cool, and I'd say that's worth taking 3 years to build it and build it well.
So yesterday, Shreyas we were talking and had a really cool analogy of like the Wright brothers built a plane pretty quickly when they put it together. And you can kind of maybe compare that to like something like Ethereum as to where if we want to go to the moon and build a rocket to go to the moon, that is going to take a significant amount of more obstacles to have to build around. And that's going to take a longer duration of building that rocket to get to somewhere like the moon. So,
or even if it's not a rocket, if you just stay in the plane analogy and you don't want to fly over like, one farm,
a little sand dune,
and you want to like actually use this thing for mass transportation and have people fly from New York to Singapore without refueling and make it comfortable and make it safe, that's where those refinements come in, and you need to have a pretty deep book of expertise there in order to actually make that happen. I fear if we don't break this card pack, we're going to run out of time to do so. And so without further ado, we got, some nice packaging here. That's pretty awesome. Monad cards, APAC conference edition. Let's break.
You got to hold it up higher. Yeah, well, like open it higher than your computer.
Oh yeah, true.
This is a
All right.
pack break. Is this your first pack break?
Yeah, I don't think I'm not admittedly much of a card guy historically, so this is well this thing is secure.
You're gonna rip
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So what do? I hold them, you know, and do a reveal. I look at this side first. Okay.
I've never done one either. I was just
So we got, some nice Monad logo background. Very, very well designed. Shout out the design team for cooking on this rebrand. All right. First card is
someone says come closer to the camera.
You're not going to be able to hear me.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately.
What
First card, 0x Maki actually works. Good card.
Dang.
Looks good. I like it. All
Could
right.
you like tap in Danny's camera and just have him do that maybe?
Theoretically, but there, yeah, that'll do, Jessup.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. Let's see. All right, next card we have. I actually am unfortunately not able to read Korean. I believe this is Korean, but this is a pretty sweet looking card. Like that. Good card. All right. We got 3 more. 5 cards per pack. And we're going to cut to our first guest. Lulu is angry. Shout out Lulu.
Lulu?
Lulu. Nice. Lulu is angry. Lulu is also looking rare. Great card. These are awesome. These are really quality too. Like very thick card stock. That's good. It's good paper. I actually come from a long line of paper distributors, so this is kind of a subject matter.
Family?
Not too far off. Not too far off. All right, next card. CryptoWilliam.eth.
Oh, with a
nice
swaggy little
Pengu.
pudgy penguin
Nice.
admiral hat.
Yeah, sweet.
Nice.
CryptoWilliam.eth. Okay, last card. Who do we got? Need a rare. Eric.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
What is
It
it?
looks rare. Eric. We got Eric.
Hell yeah.
A lot of this is actually in Korean, so I'm going to need to do more than brush up on my Korean. I'm going to need to start learning Korean. There you have it. Monad Cards, physical edition. This is fun. I also was given, it wasn't in this pack, but I was given my own Monad card, which is pretty,
I wonder if
darn awesome.
if that's something we can maybe later put on the wheel. That could be a cool.
Ooh, a pack of Monad cards?
Yeah.
I don't know, Joseph. That sounds pretty good. Sounds like a good idea to me, but there you have it. Monad Cards, physical edition. We know there's been a lot of chatter about the virtual editions as well. So, Monad Cards.
We have our guest in the lobby.
We have our guest in the lobby. Let's get headphones on and let's see how we're doing here. Awesome. Looks like we have video, hopefully audio as well. Joined now by Marco from Jumper. Marco, how's it going?
Hello. Very, very good. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here. Exciting times. Love the hoodie. We got to do a merch swap or something.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, we do have plans for some Jumper X Monad exclusive merch, so should just
All
make
right.
some extra for the teams as well, I guess.
Awesome. We're getting into the alpha pretty early. I love it. Well, great to have you here for sure. I know we have a lot to chat through. Think it would be great if we could do a high level 30-second intro on yourself, Jumper, as well, for anyone who has not encountered you on Twitter or in the product yet.
For sure. Yeah, I'm pretty quiet on Twitter. Difficult to encounter. So I've been with the team for about 4 years. I've joined LeFi very early. Intention to basically solve interop. Throughout that, being LeFi being B2B company, we've decided to kind of put ourselves on the consumer front as well, and Jumper was our way to do that. So Jumper is a B2C front end built on top of LeFi that basically makes possible for users to do asset transfers across 53 supported chains. So any to any swaps basically, and Monad will be one of them on day zero.
Yeah, super, super exciting. I've seen Jumper all over, like the main account, all over my Twitter timeline for the past year or two, and certainly seems like there's a lot of happy users there. So it's going to be awesome to welcome them to Monad on day zero. Wonder if you can give us a little bit of insight as to what that user experience is going to look like, and what activity you're excited to see on day zero.
For sure. So from a user perspective, anyone who's used Jumper going to Monad is not going to be any different. So the way we support chains, we usually cover our bases. Usually more bridges are supported, more liquidity avenues on the chains are supported as well. So basically users have access to any asset that's live and has liquidity on the chain. What that means is you can basically go from your any like long tail airdrop asset, whatever, or your yield bearing assets straight into Monad. So the users are going to have very frictionless experience pretty much, and we're going to couple that with a couple of go-to-market plans like merch. We have some devices in store as well for early users. Kind of a raffle type thing to incentivize more people to bridge into Monad as well. But I'm sure after 4 years of building the chain as well, a lion's share of interest created comes from the Monad team. We're there basically just to support the rails for people to get there.
Awesome. That's super exciting, and a super important aspect of not only day zero, but early days on Monad, in creating that smooth experience for traders to be able to come right into the ecosystem and have a flawless experience that they've grown to expect. Obviously, Jumper kind of sits between multiple chains in a sense, but there's inherently an opportunity cost when you're thinking about adding support for a new chain. A lot of chains out there in the wild today in 2025. So curious, why there's this effort to push on Monad so early, put together such a detailed and fun go-to-market, and more broadly, what do you look for when determining whether or not to allocate resources to a new chain?
For sure. So for Monad specifically, and that kind of goes into the second part of the answer as well, there are just every now and then few ecosystems and teams that manage to create the aura, if you will, around the chain, around the ecosystem that others just do not. So this was maybe like Bera or Plasma, Mega ETH, Monad, as kind of like the newer chains that kind of managed to break this, like create their own community, create their own quote unquote cult, or whatever you want to call it, have a specific go-to-market idea from like maybe for Monad that's being like super performant with parallel execution and stuff. It just, you are special in a way, and that's recognized. Like it's not things you can like really quantify early because there is no data. The chain is not live. So the only thing you have to evaluate is like, how do our partners look at that? Who's looking for it, right? So a good gauge of interest is the B2B side of LeFi. So LeFi currently has 640 integrators. So all of the largest crypto wallets, Robinhood, et cetera, they all use LeFi for bridging. And one of our big signals is how many of our integrators has requested support for an ecosystem. They don't usually request on day zero for a lot of chains. Monad is one of the chains where we have a lot of integrators, very happy that they're going to have support to Monad through our API very early.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super exciting, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I mean, just reflecting over the past couple of years in how far the trading UX has come in crypto, it really is night and day from 2020, 21, and now it's at a point where Sure, maybe you're not going to come in on day one as an on-chain user and really be able to master the ins and outs of multi-chain swapping, bridging, what have you, but it's much easier today than it was a couple years ago. Curious, as someone who's really on the front lines of pushing for this to evolve, what do you expect in the near future, whether it's on Monad or not? Like, do you have any predictions as to like new themes that we'll see on chain, new things that are exciting to users, new ways that blockchain is being used?
Um, I mean, first from an interop perspective, I just want to touch on that a little bit. Like, yes, it's incredibly incredible to see the growth we've had. So before I joined LeFi, I had like these couple of situations as I worked as a freelancer where like you get paid on like one chain, like AVAX or whatever, but you don't have, gas token. It was like a 45-minute struggle to get that USDC into wherever I needed it to be. Versus today, where I would even go to argue that like bridging and swapping, they're not products anymore, they're features. And maybe that kind of goes into the second part of the answer is now we're at a part in the industry, like part of the tech design level where most of the things that we looked as products before are not products anymore. So we have all the infra ready for complete cross-chain harmonious behavior, whatever app you want to build, right? So you have specificity of Monad or any other chain, and you can basically combine these strengths and alleviate any weakness that a chain has. All of that infra is here today. So I think it'd be very stupid of me to like say, oh, this is going to work or not. I think it's easier just from a higher level to understand that all of the infra pieces are there for anyone to build any type of app that they want to build. We're way more performant than Stratify. We're 24/7 faster, no restrictions on anything. And now the infra part of actually moving your assets and sending messages across chain is solved. So like interop is solved basically. And so what that means is like anything can be built across any domain basically that you want, right? So you can have some part of Monad, some part on some other chain, and the systems can communicate effortlessly and very fast and very cheap, which is pretty cool. Like from an interop perspective, like because you see it every day and you see how it grows, you're kind of like, okay, like it doesn't surprise you as much. But kind of looking back into like where we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, as part of the niche in the industry, I think it's very it's kind of solved, right? Like it's not really a thing that is gonna pop on Twitter anymore as much.
What does that unlock though? Like from your perspective, were there like use cases or types of applications that were essentially blocked or had a dependency on better interop between ecosystems? And how does that play out in your perspective, at least?
Yeah, I mean, like 3 years ago, we were struggling to get just like simple assets across bridge then, right? The mechanisms were basically lock and mint or lock and burn, and you had multi-chain, you had a lot of these problematic protocols. So we came kind of a long way from there. And like because it was from a security perspective, like that was basically the bottleneck, right? You couldn't really do massive size transfers and stuff like that because liquidity was not there. Today with cross-chain token standards, I think even like yesterday or today I saw a tweet from Layer Zero, someone did a $550 million USDT bridging transaction for the price of $2, right? Like,
Wow.
I mean, just like, like let's process that. Like it's a $550 million transfer in one transaction. That was not possible three years ago, right? The cost of messaging, the speed, everything kind of came down. So we're now in a phase where we can think about apps where maybe you're going to use like ZK proofs to prove you have some capital somewhere on one chain, but you actually and use it as collateral to borrow on some other chain without actually moving the funds there, right? Or you're a multi-chain app and you want your governance to be on one chain. Well, like normally 3 years ago, you would have to like bridge your assets to the chain you want to vote, check it there, vote, maybe move it back or whatever. Today, you don't have to really. Like we can verify that you have some assets somewhere. You can do your voting on another chain. So it just exponentially opens up how you can build your app, right? And where you can be with your app, where can you meet your users in a way, right? Very effortlessly.
Yeah. That's, I mean, 550 million in one transaction, one transfer is pretty crazy. I would imagine
It's
that
mind
was
blowing.
yeah, I would imagine that was a little bit sweaty for whoever was like behind the scenes actually pressing the button on that thing. Like, wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But that's the
But
thing,
it
like
worked.
interrupt token standards now, yes, they bring basically so layer zero has their own Axelar, have their own wormhole, have their own. So like a lot of the general message passing bridges have built similar tech. Which that now means is like there's no limit to the amount of money you can move across domains, which is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because I think a lot of, and you probably touched on this a little bit already, but I think a lot of these developments kind of go somewhat unnoticed because you have your flavor of the day, your topic of the week, your narrative on crypto Twitter, and it seems like everyone's always talking about that subject. And from a trading perspective, certainly it's been largely memes and more recently perp dexes over the past couple of years that really have fueled that narrative, stable coins as well. But, curious if you're seeing anything that is starting to emerge on the trading side, any predictions on upcoming narratives, whether the, kind of existing narratives still have some legs to run from a mind share perspective, at least.
I mean, I think we've learned in our industry the mindshare comes with a new and shiny thing. Things that are old don't really get the mindshare attention that they deserve. Like it's 2025 and we're still talking about DEX capital efficiency between like aerodrome and fluid, right? Which is super interesting topic. It's just not. It's for a very small part of crypto Twitter, I guess, to follow. It's not as sticky or as shiny to have a narrative, but like I think what's more important is like there are a lot of narratives within subgroups of crypto, and it's probably even better from a retail and normie perspective to completely ignore, the what's the leading mainstream narrative because we're probably late to it either way. So
Yeah, for sure. We have a couple community questions as well, which I'd love to toss
for
out and
sure.
get your thoughts on. One from IOBNAD asks, how do you maintain liquidity and security across 53 blockchains? I think we started to get into this, but
Yeah.
that's obviously a pretty monumental and an important aspect of what Jumper's doing. So I figure it's worth double clicking on.
For sure. So first, from a liquidity perspective, we do not have our own liquidity. So we have 25 bridges and 45, 46 DEXs and DEX aggregators aggregated in our stack, and we access existing liquidity. We don't own our own liquidity. We don't intend to own our own liquidity. We work with other liquidity providers, DEXs, DEX aggregators, to basically do that for us and work with them to optimize their systems and them within our system. So it's a easier problem, I would think, than actually focusing on like bringing your own liquidity. And then from a security perspective, well, this is a more plentiful topic, but basically we have from things like employee device protections, time locks and smart contracts that we're deploying, whole security team in house that ranges from smart contract security to everything like emails we're getting and stuff like that. So we're very adamant. Sadly, we were burned a few years ago, and so that elevated our senses around security greatly and how much money we actually invest every year into that. Regular pen testing, regular audits, public ones and basically closed ones as well. So nothing goes out without being very vigorously checked and tested.
Yeah, it's an important topic. It's a somewhat scary topic for sure. And during the first half hour of the show, we were already talking a good bit about security, and especially around this time where there's a lot of excitement. People are, potentially moving quickly it's an important time to double check things. Intern over here has been
Yeah.
dealing with a Telegram impersonator this morning. So for anyone out there, if you're getting Telegram messages from intern, it might not be intern.
It is guaranteed not me. I'm not messaging any of you this morning.
Well,
and Marco, I was just going to say, Marco, I apologize. I'm actively being targeted and hacked live on stream now. So I was dealing with it. Now I'm back. I'm in. I love Jumper. I'm a user of Jumper. It is actually one of my favorite ways to message cross-chain. So shout out Jumper. I was very excited when I was told that Jumper would be supporting Monad. I would love to follow up with a community question, but I know I kind of cut you off when you were about to say something. So
no, it's all good. Let's go. Feel free.
So kind of a layup here, but just the overall easy answer. Will Jumper Exchange support Monad on day one? And then if it's live on day one, what are some of the challenges that you guys might see in liquidity pools, swapping and minting? That could have been worded a little bit better, but shout out Decatan. The concept of the question was very, very clear.
Very good. Yes. So yes, we will support Monad basically from the first block, not just day one. So immediately as the public mainnet goes live, you can basically swap it or bridge into Monad through Jumper. There are always initial problems, so they range depending on the setups of the chain. Usually it's RPC issues, mainly like just RPC not being able to scale and rate limiting. Then you have situations where depending on what bridges we have to go there, if it's not a cross-chain asset that you can mint and burn, then you're going to have some liquidity caps basically on how much you can actually move into per transaction. And then of course, depending on the liquidity available on the chain, swapping higher slippage usually on some long tail assets, but that's pretty much normal. And these things even out usually between like 24 to 48 hours because the foundation teams or like the teams behind chains are super on it. And so a lot of the things that they can solve, they solve from an RPC perspective, whatever. It's an interest of the DEXs as well to deepen the liquidity. So they're going to, maybe like boost the incentives on specific assets and specific pools. And we usually work with them on that as well to kind of point out how the liquidity flows and where they should be most prepared. I usually personally bridge like within like a day or two when these are kind of cleared. Like you check in the beginning, it's maybe not ideal, and then in a few hours you do it. Good thing is though that like every chain launch now is just getting way better. It really does look like from perspective of interrupt providers in a way, we've learned a lot on this, but foundation teams have learned a lot. We had quite a bit of sought after, like very a lot of attention type chain launches in the past year, and I think I'm sure you two know as well. You've had ample opportunities to learn what's required for a successful chain launch, which 2 years ago maybe was not the case for a lot of the chains, and it was a lot of baby issues. Like now they're kind of removed. I would say.
Yeah, we've had a couple years to study that while Monad has been constructed behind the scenes, and certainly a lot of thought, a lot of intentionality into those areas. But ultimately, it all comes down to that day zero when the rubber actually meets the road. And one of the big takeaways for me as someone who's non-technical and hasn't either built these systems or coordinated the connectivity and launching of these systems is just how large of an effort it is, not only to get the chain up and running, but to make sure that infrastructure is all on the same page, validator coordination, ecosystem coordination, and many other areas beyond that. So it is a pretty monumental effort to get things in as good of a state as you possibly can for day one of a mainnet launch. But certainly a lot of work has gone into that over the past few years. And one of the interesting things I think as well for Monad is there's been a lot of activity on testnet. So a lot of opportunity for RPCs and infrastructure more broadly to get a sense of what user activity might look like and coordinate accordingly. So a lot of adjustments and refinements have been made throughout the testnet period, which has been open since February now. So I guess 7-8 months now. So that's definitely a benefit. Kind of pivoting on subject here, but the viewers always love to hear what builders are up to as users in crypto. So if you're open to sharing, what do you get up to on chain? What excites you? What do you like to do?
Lately, farming hyperliquid protocols, basically. We have an absolute madman in a team that is on top of basically everything that happens in hyperliquid to an incredible level of depth and detail. So it's very easy to plug into what he's doing. Aside from that, I don't know. This year has actually been very low activity for me. I think like then like end of last year, beginning of this year, I've had some uh, disturbingly wrong moves that have left a bit of a psychological mark that I'm still kind of going through. So I'm basically just plugging into what smarter people than me are doing, and usually just DCAing into my top 3-4 assets, as have been doing for the past few years, as this kind of peace of mind type of portfolio, and then playing with smaller parts. But mainly it's on Hyperliquid at the moment.
Yeah, yep. I can definitely relate. Sometimes you just gotta lock in and work on things that are not speculative for sure. But yeah, this is really exciting. I think it's undoubtedly a huge asset to the Monad ecosystem experience that Jumper will be live from day one. I can remember community members going back and forth on Twitter over a year ago and just demanding that Jumper be live on Monad.
That was epic.
I think I could be wrong on this, but I gotta shout it out in case I am correct. I think Zane from the Monad community was
He was avid supporter.
Yes, he was. He still is. And also,
for sure.
we're both in the basically elite club of purple companies. So I guess that was also like a very early a sign of good synergies, I guess.
Yeah, the purple alignment is real.
It was in the tea leaves.
Yes.
It's a good
Yes.
icebreaker, so to speak.
Yes.
Marco, I do have to hop here. I need to, one, I have a call in 5 minutes, but two, I just need to go deal with the security thing. And I don't want to distract everyone by just looking at my computer on stream the entire time. But it was awesome to get to talk to you and listen to a lot of the answers and just what you're bringing to Monad Mainnet day one with Jumper. I've been a user of Jumper. I will continue to be a user of Jumper, especially Jumper's integration with Monad. So thank you very much for coming on, and I will catch you soon, brother.
Thank you for having me, and good luck with your imposter.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't need it. We are still going to stay live on Monad in the morning for another hour here. We've got a couple other guests coming on as well. And we now have an empty co-host seat. So for the viewers at home, do not worry. We have a new fill-in substitute co-host coming on momentarily. It is not intern, but it is the next best thing. It is intern Bra. Intern's IRL brother is going to join us for the remainder of the show. So,
Wait, is that actually real?
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people think it's a joke, but intern and
I thought
intern
it was a
bra,
joke. Yes.
they're truly IRL brothers and both working on the Monad growth team. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I tried to get my brother into crypto. He said no, thank you. But
Same.
maybe at some point.
Same. My brother actually like works with his hands and loves it. And he just like looks at me very like, you spend your time in front of screens. Like, well, like no.
It's a hard thing to explain to people that don't spend any time in crypto. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's how much time do you have?
Yeah. Very complicated. Very complicated.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else in our, final minute or two here, anything else to share about Jumper coming to Monad, but this is obviously pretty darn exciting. We've got mainnet finally on the horizon, and I know a lot of people are now thinking more seriously about what they're going to do on Monad when it is live, and even beyond that, just starting to kind of do more due diligence, because it's clear that this thing is finally ready to come to market. So not sure if you have any closing thoughts or wisdom that you want to leave the community with.
Mona's going to be big. We are super excited to support it. Tune into Jumper Exchange on Twitter to learn about all the opportunities offered to bridge to Monad and why you should be there on day 0.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. Everyone should be on Monad from day 0, and check out Jumper as well. Follow them. Get ready for Monad mainnet launch and a very smooth trading experience. What could be better than that? I don't know. This has been awesome. We'll have to get you back on soon, but for now, appreciate you joining us. Follow Jumper, follow at ZORD4N, and look out for news, alpha, and updates. Jumper is coming to Monad day 0.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining. For everyone who is remotely tuning into Monad in the morning, we are going to cut to a very brief break, and then we will fill the co-host chair with none other than Intern's brother, Intern Bra, and we will be back with another guest, Nate, working on marketing at Monad Foundation. Newly joined the team. Nate's going to call in momentarily. This is Monad in the morning on Throughput Thursday. Now my second favorite day of the week after Tuesdays. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. Welcome back to Monad in the Morning, episode 33. Before we cut to a break, I promised the audience a new co-host, and I don't have one. I don't know where he is. Intern Bra, if you're watching this, we got a chair for you. But
I'm here, Danny.
we got Jessup, and now we have Nate, who has just joined Monad Foundation. This is week 2, I believe, focused on all things marketing. Nate, thank you very much for being with us today. Welcome to Monad in the Morning.
Hey, Danny. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, we gotta introduce you to the Monad community, to our beloved viewers on Monad in the Morning. So Nate, if you don't mind, give us a quick overview as to what your background is and what you're going to be focusing on in the Monad ecosystem.
Yeah, so I've been working in marketing for over 8 years now, have kind of been all over the place. So began my career at this company called Nielsen, was advising a bunch of like the bigger Web2 companies on their marketing strategies. So this was everything from like product placement on shelves at stores to like what food vendors you put in like sports stadiums to like TV rights, ad campaigns on TikTok, LinkedIn, social media. So my clients range from everywhere from like car manufacturers like Toyota and Volkswagen to like the social media giants like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Worked with the sports leagues as well, like the NFL, NBA. Fun fact, the reason why the LA Rams stadium has a Chick-fil-A in the stadium is because I did the data analysis to back up why that should be there. And then after I was in that world for roughly like 3 years, there was a recruiter that reached out at Disney and tried to poach me. And while I was like in talks to join Disney, DYDX reached out back in the day during DeFi summer, and that's kind of how I got pulled into crypto. So I've been in crypto since DeFi summer, was at DYDX for like 2.5 years, ran the marketing strategy there. At the time when I joined, it was pre-FTX implosion. So everything was like kumbaya, everything was great. Then like 4 months into the gig, FTX imploded and everything went to shit. Like the market completely crashed. Probably the worst bear market that most people tuning into this stream have seen. And then that was my first like true cycle in crypto. Kind of navigated all that. There was a completely different regulatory landscape in the US as well. So this was back when Biden was still the president, and then Gary Gensler's SEC was kind of going after everyone with like regulation through enforcement. So the marketing like paradigm was very different at the time. What you could say, what you couldn't say, like how you could advertise things, how you couldn't. It was like navigating an industry with like handcuffs on the entire time. And it was a great stint. I learned a lot. Once Trump got elected, obviously like stuff started to change a lot just because the regulatory environment started to ease up as Gensler left the SEC. And then joined a project called Eclipse, where I was there for a little over a year, where I was the CMO and just kind of oversaw everything go to market. Once I started chatting with Keone about potentially joining Monad, it was pretty clear that Monad has like really good distribution on crypto Twitter and a really strong community. But for sustainable growth moving forward, the question's really like distribution, right? So there's a whole world outside of crypto Twitter that can potentially be interested and use like these apps. So for example, like consumer apps, like there's a lot of takes on consumer apps that don't require people to know that they're crypto apps at all. You don't want to market those exclusively on crypto Twitter because there's a whole different user base that you can attract with like Gen Z TikTokers and stuff. So if I have like a health and wellness app, I don't really need to distribute that on crypto Twitter or try to attract farmers. Like if anything, I should be trying to bring in people that don't use like crypto stuff in general. Another example is like generally speaking, there's like a whole different world of token speculators out there too. So if you look at what Ripple has done, really good job activating on places like Reddit. That's like additional distribution channels that matter a lot that we should be thinking about if we want Mana to keep growing from here. Last example is like press. So for example, if we're going to really aggressively pursue payments and institutional funds in Wall Street, our existing distribution on crypto Twitter is not too compelling to them. What they're going to look at is like, are we a world-renowned and recognized brand name? Like, are we covered by the Blooms and Forbes and Wall Street Journals of the world? And couple that with like demonstrable traction. So as they're evaluating ROI, potentially partnering with us, how many fees are we generating on a weekly, monthly basis? How many users / unique wallets do we have? And then if you couple that with a really recognizable and respected brand name, that is what moves the needle there, as opposed to, hey, like we have like 600,000 followers or something on like Twitter. Look at our Twitter engagement, because that's not really what they're going to be paying attention to. So that's the mandate. Going to be focusing a lot on distribution. How can we become more recognized? How can we get the word out about all these different apps that we have? We have a really strong ecosystem of developers that are building apps on top of us. We have to make sure that we evangelize them properly. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on for these first few months, and then we'll see how it evolves from there.
Beautiful. Well, it's an area I'm hugely excited for. Obviously, crypto is just scratching the surface in terms of mainstream awareness, let alone mainstream use. And I think Monad is pretty well positioned to make a very serious push into new markets and new demographics that perhaps haven't even thought of using crypto previously. Pumped to have you leading the charge on that front, Nate. I'm sure the next couple months and beyond are going to be really exciting. Before we dive in much further, though, my co-host has arrived. The legendary intern Bra, not to be confused with intern. This is his Bra.
I think he was out getting a coffee.
No, I had some work to attend to. It's not mysterious or important, but a secret third thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, looking good in the pipeline hat. Great to have you here, intern Bra. Nate, what has you most excited about Monad overall? You gave us a great overview on your background, some of the areas that you're going to be focused on, which are very important, very exciting areas. But what was it about Monad that had you really excited to join the team? You obviously have a background in both crypto and Web 2. But what about Monad got your attention?
I think two things. The first thing is honestly the talent density on the team. I've worked at different projects and big companies before, and it's like really rare to find like this much talent density, especially at an org the size of Monad. So Monad's a bit bigger than most crypto companies that I've worked at before or seen in general. But everyone contributes. There's a lot of different subject matter expertise across the board. So whether I talk to ecosystem team members or growth team members or even engineers, or like Keone and Eunice themselves, like it's very clear how sharp everyone is and how motivated they are to see the project succeed. That's like a huge green flag for someone that's been in crypto for a while. The second thing is honestly like seeing a very healthy ecosystem that's been burgeoning for the last few years on top of Monad. So everyone thinks that like, oh yeah, like building tech is really important, or a lot of people think that in crypto, but that's really table stakes, right? So it's really impressive how Monad's engineering team has basically built a custom built EVM L1 from the ground up. But that only goes so far if you don't have a healthy ecosystem of like several different verticals of apps building on top of your L1, right? And that's what's been really reassuring to see is chatting with the ecosystem team or people like Jack or intern Bra or intern himself, like on like our weekly one-on-ones and stuff. Like I've learned a lot about, okay, within DeFi, these are the different promising apps we have. Within consumer, here's the different speculative app cases we have. With the portal acquisition and how we're going to approach payments, like there's all this different stuff we can do. And that makes my job a lot more interesting because I can start thinking strategically about, okay, for this type of app, this is where the distribution matters the most. Whereas for like DeFi, it's okay. Like we have really good crypto Twitter, like native distribution. We can continue to see those apps in our existing distribution. So there's all these levers that I can play with and we can see what will juice the engine the most.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, like we're talking a lot about users. What do you get up to as a user in crypto? What have been some of your highlights or lowlights?
Yeah, I mean, I've made money, I've lost money like most people in this space. I am not that plugged in with the trenches anymore. So, like last year, a year and a half ago, I had some pretty big home run hits on some of these meme coins. But I think that trading just requires you to be like very risk on, but also just like plugged into charts all the time. I'm not that plugged in these days. So like if you check like my FOMO, for example, like I'm losing money. I'm not making money trading meme coins right now. But I'm still pretty risk on when it comes to like yield farming and stuff. So pretty active on some lending platforms. I LP pretty regularly if I see an opportunity. And for me, like I just deploy capital these days on stuff that I think is like relatively good on the risk reward curve. So even if I'm comfortable losing that amount of money, I think the upside's definitely there. And for me at this point, that's less so in meme coins, but other strategies as well. I've farmed a decent amount of airdrops in the past as well. But these days, like now that I'm in Monad, I think it's like I got to hit the ground running at this point. So not as active on chain as I usually am.
I've been looking forward to getting active on chain on Monad for quite a while now, and it almost feels surreal that this moment is, truly on the horizon. Um, it's been a lot of fun testing apps on testnet, playing around with some stuff that the community's built, some things that the ecosystem app teams are building as well. But you know, come mainnet, that all becomes very real, and there's, to your point, Nate, a lot of effort that's gone into building up the Monad ecosystem over the past couple of years, and it's not a it's not an app chain; it's general purpose. So there are huge varieties in the types of apps and experiences and things that you can use and do on Monad. And it's going to be really exciting to push on the distribution front as well, to see how we can get more serious players in the TradFi institutional space onto Monad, as well as the gamblers and the speculators and those that are creating mimetic fun in weird corners of the internet, and of course everything in between. So I'm looking forward to it. Jack, I don't know if you have anything that you're particularly excited to do on chain.
Well, we have a bunch of sports betting apps, and it is NFL football season, so that will probably be my preferred avenue to lose money. There's plenty of DeFi stuff that I'm excited about. Yeah, I think there's a few on the consumer side that have a chance to do really well. I think Kizzy is an interesting new product. Honestly, Loot Go. I was a huge Pokemon Go fan, so like I think if Loot Go executes well, it could be huge.
Yeah, we had Luke go on last week, and they're like pretty serious about their go to market, thinking pretty uniquely about it, and also not just looking to target the crypto natives. Nate, I don't know if you've had much chance yet to check out Luke Go or meet the team or anything like that.
No, I haven't met them personally yet. Have been slowly chatting with a few of the ecosystem teams. Some of them are just, I think it's interesting because they're just dealing with different stuff at this moment in time, right? So some are very much going through like the audit process to get deployed on day one of the mainnet going live. Other ones are thinking a lot more about like distribution already. Some are thinking about raising. Some are thinking a lot more about like press in general, especially some of these like AI crypto projects are like actually pretty interesting because they're building very compelling models that compete with some of these existing LLMs. So I haven't tried it with Luco specifically, but I'm sure like based on what I've already seen from these ecosystem teams, like they're probably pretty cracked as well.
I've got a list of some pretty cool community questions, but I have one more of my own before we jump into some of the rapid fire AMA. Nate, you have a pretty unique experience in being at L2 or Eclipse leading marketing for about a year there. I'm curious, like, as much as you're willing to share, what did you think about Monad prior to starting the process of exploring joining the team?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I met Keone at ETH Denver last year, and I went up to him and I was like very transparent that like I really respect the dude. He's very sharp. I've listened to a bunch of his panels and stuff before. Like, there's no deny like he's a very intelligent man. And when I met Eunice, like as I was interviewing for Monad, I was very impressed as well. Tunes and I had gone back and forth a bit on Twitter before, and I did respect that Tunes was always more on the intellectually honest side compared to some of the FUD that I deal with at Eclipse. And like we'd sent DMs back and forth in the past before. So like some of our frustrations working with agencies, I gave him pretty transparent feedback when he like asked for like, give me critical feedback on Monad. I just DM'd him because I didn't want to get accused of trying to drag Monad through the mud when I was already dealing with stuff at Eclipse. But like, I never had an issue with Monad. I definitely viewed Monad as a competitor, right? Like if you're building an infrastructure chain, realistically, you want to win. And that means if you have to acquire developers, you're competing against all these other chains. And that's just kind of the reality of the landscape, right? So regardless of what L1 or L2 you work at, you're paying attention to the most promising or most recognized other infrastructure providers as well, because realistically, those are the names that get thrown at you when you're talking to different developers of like, hey, like here are the chains I'm considering developing on. And Monad was definitely one that came up pretty often. There's also like the community and farmers and like actual end users, right? Because they're all evaluating which chains are the most promising to put investment into as well as to actually spend their time on. So that's something you pay attention to. I didn't have like negative feedback about Monad. I could definitely see that Tunes was not a fan. And meeting him this week, like we had like an hour-long conversation about everything that we're working on and thinking about, as well as like our history together. But yeah, I mean, like I had only heard good things about you, intern as well. So it was like very reassuring as I was interviewing and have now joined the team, because the talent density, like I said, is like very, very strong. And that's not very common in crypto these days.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's been so impressive over the course of the last couple of years, to see that talent density multiply, right? Like it's easier to do when you have a very small team. You get 10 people, they maybe have some existing relationship or past work history. But then once you expand beyond 10, 20, 30 people in terms of a real global effort to bring something to fruition, that's where it gets tough to maintain those standards, and definitely a lot of respect, not only for Monad Foundation, but Category Labs in really keeping that bar high. Want to hit on a couple AMA questions from the community. One is particularly relevant for your role, Nate, and it comes from longtime Monad in the Morning listener and super fan, It's Nacho79. Nacho asks, in today's world where we are bombed with info every day, all day, and attention spans get shorter by the day, how would you pitch Monad to the muggles, the non-crypto mass?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. I think it depends through what lens I'm pitching it. So I view this as two ways, right? Am I pitching it to the end user, or am I pitching it to a potential token speculator? Those are two different audiences. Sometimes they overlap, but not always. So I'll start with the first one. If I'm pitching it to the end user, I'd focus on the app, right? So or we're calling them muggles in this analogy. Like if I'm talking to some Gen Z kid and there's a consumer app that I think is relevant to them, I'm just telling them about the app. Hey, there's this wellness app, or hey, there's this like trading card game app. There's like something that you might find interesting. And I have to make sure that I fine tune that pitch in the medium where they are present. So if I was going to see that narrative on TikTok, for example, I'm not going to post like a 2-minute long video about the app and all the intricacies of how it works. No one wants to listen to that. But I could see like, hey, here's some brain rot content about why this is interesting, or here's how someone made money, or here's how like they actually interacted with their friends on the app, and then make that seeded through like a UGC content network, for example. That's how you can kind of appeal to the end user. If it's more like a speculation based app, like a sports betting app, you just have to make sure that you meet users where they are. So is there an influencer that they like or that they follow? Is there a specific YouTube channel or like analyst channel that they're following? Can we partner with them? Polymarket did a really good job of this when like the election was happening. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can study of playbooks that have worked in the past before. So that's kind of how I think about it when it comes to seeding a narrative for an end user. Is like they don't really have to know about Monad at the end of the day if the goal is just for them to use the apps. For the token speculator, this is a very different question, and I think it's something that requires a bit more deep thinking. So, for the most part, from what I've seen, decentralization is not like a compelling story to tell to most end users these days. It just hasn't really stuck. It doesn't mean it's not important. Like, we're seeing the importance of it right now in the real world. If you look at like stuff like Nepal and Vietnam and what's happening right now with like losing access to traditional financial rails, there's definitely a use case for stuff like payments or stable coins where like that pitch might matter. But when it comes to the Monad blockchain itself, we're going to have to come up with something that's a bit more compelling than that, that actually matters to where what people are thinking about today. So right now, Monad had gone to market with like crypto natives around like performance and decentralization and the coupling of those two things. I think that's compelling to most natives who get that. But to more normies and people who aren't really in the trenches or really understand the world of crypto, it has to be something else. So is it that we uniquely enable certain use cases that can't be done previously? Or is it that we reduce risk in a certain way? Like that's what I'm going to have to figure out. And for me, honestly, that's part of the job is figuring out what resonates with people. So if you start seeing different campaigns around Monad with different messaging that you haven't seen before, it's likely because we're testing those out to see what resonates with people the most. Something I've studied a lot is like Coinbase ads, for example. They've run a whole lot of different ads within like the last year and a half. If you watch sports games, for example, every once in a while you'll see a Coinbase ad. Some of them are super technical. I don't understand why a normal person would resonate with that at all. But there's other stuff that's a lot more about like, hey, farmers use Coinbase to like collect money or like pay other people, and like stuff like that might make sense to like the more normal audience that's paying attention to these sports games. So there's something to definitely study there. And for me, like as I continue to chat with you guys, as well as see what users are actually playing with on chain, like that's going to heavily shape the narrative that we're telling the world.
Yeah, it's a great point. Like for a general purpose chain and a broad ecosystem, there's so many different use cases that are possible. There's so many different things that are happening. It can be really hard to boil that down to a really like accessible selling point that people who don't have crypto experience can actually understand, especially if you're talking about the infrastructure layer as opposed to the apps obviously that are built on top of that. My wife texted me last night while I was working, and I looked over, saw the notification, read the message, and she was like, hey, I just, for fun, went to the Monad website to check it out, and I actually can't understand any of these words. Like, I don't know what parallel execution is. I don't know what throughput is. I don't know what TPS is. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good point, especially around mainnet launch. There's going to be a lot of people that don't use crypto, don't follow crypto on a day-to-day basis that are going to discover Monad, maybe check out the website, and it's hard to kind of curate these messages that are broadly accessible to anyone coming in, regardless of where they're coming from.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like I don't think that means that we have to dilute our brand messaging. Like the way that I pitched everything to the team when I was interviewing was very much so like meet different audiences where they are, right? So for crypto natives, like they do care about this stuff, right? And particularly when it comes to like DeFi projects, they want to make sure that the yield they're collecting is legitimate, that it's safe, they're not going to get rugged. And to technical folks, right? Like the compelling reason for Monad is its tech. That's what makes it stand out. The fact that we have custom built an L1 from the ground up, that it does not compromise on decentralization and is the most performant EVM. Like that's the stuff that matters to researchers. You don't want to dilute that messaging. It's just that for more normal folks, like you were saying, parallel execution is a complete buzzword. What does that mean to the average person? And if you look at people or teams that have managed to crack or bridge the gap in the past, it's because they've had a very digestible message or some sort of value prop that was just very easily understood. So I have my wife's friends, right? And I've talked about this pretty openly before. They don't work in crypto at all. They work at companies like Accenture, for example. And they bought into Ripple like 4 or 5 years ago. They didn't buy in because of some technical like buzzword or something. They were like, oh, Bitcoin's a bit pricey. I see Ripple starting to do stuff with banks. this seems like an actual use case. And then they aped in, and they've been holding Ripple for like 4 or 5 years. And that's a completely different holder based or token speculation crowd than what we're normally used to seeing with like airdrop farmers or people who are buying these coins on like Coinbase. If you can get someone to buy on like Robinhood or Revolut, that's a very different audience and holder base that realistically you want that distribution. And so for me, like, we're in a very pivotal moment where I'm not going to try and completely derail our existing narrative ahead of it, like a mainnet launch. But that being said, like, as we start thinking about different pastures and different ways that we can distribute our narratives, that is very much like the long-term game that we have to start playing now. Otherwise we'll be late by the time like it comes around in a year and we realize like, hey, like, we really don't have that much of a footprint outside of crypto Twitter.
Yeah. Yep. Great points for sure. Nate, this has been a huge pleasure to have you on your first but not last episode of Monad in the Morning. Great to get an overview on your background, what you're going to be working on, and super excited to see some of that come into the public sphere over the next few months.
I have one last question.
All right.
All
Yeah,
right,
shoot.
Nate.
We
Lot
woke
of
up
pressure,
Jack.
A lot of pressure. What's your favorite KPI?
For marketing or like a chain?
Either, both?
For a chain, honestly, it's just rev, like how much revenue is generated. Because once you have revenue, like, there's a lot of different stuff you can do with it. So like Hyperliquid, for example, uses that to support the token price, right? They like TWAP the token on the open market. Or you can do that to like make strategic acquisitions. So like if we're serious about different stuff in TradFi and stuff, there's worlds in which we might want to acquire or merge with other businesses and stuff. And that becomes pretty interesting because that's how you play like the chess game at the highest level. When it comes to marketing, I think the KPI that I care the most about is realistically ROI. And that's where it's going to be a little bit tough at Monad, is like right now with some of these new distribution channels, like we don't even have awareness right now. And that's like a bigger problem to solve. But eventually with stuff like paid advertising campaigns and stuff, I want to see how much money we are making as a direct result of the spend that we put out. So if I ran an advertising campaign for like a payments platform, I would want to see what the impact is in terms of the fees that are generated or conversion that we got in terms of new users because of that ad campaign I ran. And that's the KPI I care the most about. I don't want to put the cart before the horse though. I think it's going to be a bit before I start seeing like heavy ROI, given that outside of crypto Twitter, we have a decent amount of work to do before more people know about us first.
Great answers.
For sure. There is much to be done. We are just getting started. Mainnet is day zero for Monad. So lots to look forward to. Great to have you on board, Nate, and great to have had you on Monad in the Morning, episode 33. Like I said, your first, certainly not your last. Look forward to having you on again soon.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Alrighty, if you are tuning in remotely, stick with us. We have one more guest joining us live on Monad in the Morning, episode 33. He is the CEO of Dynamic. Itai should be joining us momentarily.
Yep.
Bingo. How's it going? Can you hear us? Can you see us? We can't hear you.
Hold on. Is this better?
There you go. Yep.
Bingo.
There we go. It was the mute button. That was the problem. That was the.
There's always something. We like to say it's not an episode of Monad in the Morning if we don't have at least one minor technical difficulty, and we can check the box because we just had our technical difficulty.
There we go. I'm glad to be a contributor to the trend. I'm doing my part.
You certainly are doing your part, and it is great to have you on Monad in the Morning today as well. Am I pronouncing your name correctly when I say Itai?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was great.
Wow.
You should join all my Zoom meetings and just just make sure you tell everyone to pronounce it this way. This is great.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you on the show today. I know there's a lot to chat through, but for anyone who has been under a rock for the past couple of years in crypto and may not have used Dynamic or known what it is, can you give us a little bit of an intro on what Dynamic is and your work on the product?
Yeah, absolutely. And first, I do want to say I'm very jealous of the background you guys have, which seems phenomenally cool. And so I will want some plushies too, at one
We
point,
would
just
we would love to hook you
throwing
up
it.
with some plushies, and gotta give the credit to the Monad community. Most of the items here are sent in from the community, or projects building on top of Monad. So we're
Love it.
building out this background of different lore and memorabilia and fun stuff. So we're just getting started
Love it.
on that
That's
front.
That's awesome. I will have a session with our community to confront them on the fact that we don't have plushies. So I'll report back after this session. But yeah, so very quickly, what is Dynamic? What we do for a living. So we've been around for about 4 years. We're backed by A16Z and Founders Fund. Basically, what we do for a living is wallet infrastructure. So what that means is that if you download Kraken's new Inky app, which is their meme coin trading app, and you set it up on your phone and you log in with an email, you're able to trade a bunch of assets. In the background, what happens is a wallet gets created, an embedded MPC wallet gets created for you that enables you to do all that type of stuff. That is Dynamic. So Dynamic kind of sits there at the core of kind of the Inky Kraken experience, and enables you to do everything you do with crypto without external wallets or without connecting anything complex, but without thinking about it at all. So it's an SDK, it's an infrastructure tool. You can see it on Kraken. You can see it if you go to Magic Eden and you log in, and you go to the Monad portal on Magic Eden. When you click login, that pop-up is Dynamic as well. So email login, external wallet login, etc. So everything that happens when you click login, everything that happens to generate embedded wallets for your end users to trade on, or kind of to move money on, etc. That's pretty much what we do for a living. We work with anywhere from very crypto native projects to NFT projects like Planosaurus or Doodles, to the Magic Edens of the world, to Ondo Finance and Maple Finance, to the Zero Hashes of the world and the Krakens of the world. So we kind of span. I think the oldest company that uses Dynamic was established in the 1800s or the 1900s, and the newest company I think was established last week.
Wow, super super cool. And I know Jack and I have been friends for a while, but also like in the same, like some of the same group chats, like using crypto when we kind of first onboarded 5-6 years ago or so. And we were talking earlier this morning, obviously knowing that you were coming on the show, about just how much the wallet experience has improved over the past few years. Like, 5 years ago, it was really painful to onboard to crypto and figure out, how do I set up a wallet? Now, once I've done that, how do I start using apps? And what Dynamic has created over the past few years has revolutionized that experience. Would be interesting to hear, like, taking it back to the early days, architecting the vision. When did you realize that this was going to be a big problem to solve, and what gave you the motivation to actually go out there and solve it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started first. I agree with you. I think it changed pretty significantly in the last couple of years, right? And I hope it changes even more, right? So I really hope, as much as I enjoy talking about Dynamic, I really hope there are no podcasts talk about wallets in the next couple of years, because it's just kind of a part of the stack, right? It's just a thing that's abstracted away, right? No one gets a wallet for the sake of getting a wallet, right? They're trying to access something. They're trying to access a super performant kind of chain like Monad, and do things on top of it, right? But the wallet is the gateway to that, right? The reason we did this was pretty much a two-sided analysis when we started Dynamic, and it was kind of, we sat there and we kind of did two things. On the one hand, we did a very bottoms-up kind of analysis. We tried we were, I think we bought our first Bitcoin in 2013, and 2016, 2017, we thought we were late to ETH, and then in 2021 we were very late to Solana. But we were sitting there, Yoni, my co-founder, and myself, trying to buy NFTs, and for lack of better word, we thought the experience was. I'm not going to use the more aggressive word. We thought the experience wasn't very nice. We thought it wasn't really great. kind of to go in to buy an NFT, you had to set up a bunch of things. You had to deal with gas. You had to kind of, deal with network switching. You had to install MetaMask or Phantom or anything like that. It wasn't very consumer ready. And so bottoms up, we were like, okay, there's no way this gets to kind of, be the next rail of global finance if you got to do all this stuff to get started. And on the other side of this, our hypothesis was very much that just like any website you visit has a login screen, and that is pretty much a prerequisite to interact with a website or an app. And there are gigantic companies like Auth0 or Stitch, etc., and Okta that kind of have created massive businesses around kind of the login button. Our hypothesis was a top down, hey, you're going to have the same thing in crypto, right? You're going to need these massive kind of businesses that abstract away the complexity of login, but the wallet and the wallet creation that happens after login. So those were our hypotheses. That's pretty much how we started. At the time, we pretty much said, look, in 5 years, every app on your phone is going to have a wallet component to it. And therefore, we'll need kind of embedded wallets, and we'll need kind of that wallet abstraction. 2 years in, we still said 5 years, so it got pushed back by 2 years. 3 years in, we still said 5 years, and now 4 years in, we're kind of saying, well, I hope we didn't miss it. It's happening now, right? And so there's this massive acceleration that's happened over the last 4 years, where people are realizing that in order to enable this global first financial superpower of a rail that is crypto, you pretty much need to start with wallets.
Yeah, it's a couple great points in there for sure, and I'm just kind of curious how this is going to continue to evolve, because we've gotten in the past 5 years, we've gone from this state where the thing is barely usable. To your point,
right.
Like early days of NFTs on Solana, no shade on Solana or any of the wallets there. It was just early innings for this stuff. But like you would go mint an NFT and then you would like try and look and be like, did the transaction go through? Did I actually mint this thing? Where is my JPEG that I just paid hundreds of dollars for? Like, is this thing in my wallet? Is it not in my wallet? I can't see the image. So you had this like, very primitive user experience. Now we're at the state where it's passable. And I think if a app in crypto is taking off mainstream viral, it is usable. Like users, if the impetus is strong enough, mainstream users will come into crypto. I think we're seeing more and more examples of that. So it's usable now. What does this ultimately look like? What is the end game for wallets as you visualize it, as you want to build for?
Yeah, I think maybe double clicking on usable for a second, then we'll get to endgame. But just before this podcast, the previous call I had was with a kind of global payroll company, giant contractor payment payroll company, and when you talk to their engineering team about moving money on stablecoins, you as part of the conversation all of a sudden say, well, you got to worry about this gas cost. And in their mind, they're like, what is it? Like, completely new concept of what are gas fees as part of crypto, right? And so to your point, it's passable. The end user experience is there, but there's still a bunch of levels of abstraction we need to take care of in order to enable not just crypto native companies to implement create great experiences, but to enable payroll and accounts payable companies and payout companies and remittance companies to do this without the engineer knowing anything about crypto, right? You have lost the plot when you start talking to a payroll engineer about the fun adventures of 7702 and gas abstraction, right? Like that's kind of a key part to this. Where this goes, in the future is again that level of abstraction, but pretty much our hypothesis is that I'll be very happy if we stop having crypto conferences and they just become fintech conferences. and it just becomes the way in which fintech runs, right? And so that is hopefully kind of the future in my mind, is that this is just just like you would not launch an app today without having an AI component in the app, because it's not an AI app. Not all apps are AI apps, but you're not launching Redfin or Zillow or Uber or whatever without some sort of AI component. In the same way, you're just not going to roll those apps out without a crypto component and a wallet component to them. And so what we're going to get to is essentially you're going to just have it as a default part of your stack, and it's going to be the way in which you build global first financial apps.
I absolutely love that analogy. That is really cool to think about, but also I think it just makes it accessible for anyone to be able to think about, because over the past year or two, basically every software, every app is like, we're now AI. Like, we hooked up the LLM. This thing is an AI app now. And a lot of it was very buzzwordy. In certain cases, it did improve the user experience or the core functionality of the app. That goes without saying. But you did have this huge push that as AI exploded, mainstream consumers were using ChatGPT and Midjourney and all these other tools that have popped up. It will be very interesting to see the same thing happen for crypto. I honestly had just assumed naively that it would kind of be the other way around, that you would have consumer apps really taking off, bringing so many new users into crypto that activity would ultimately be the impetus for TradFi and payments and remittance companies to come in, just because of the long-standing formal nature of that industry and how anti-crypto they had been rewinding 4 or 5 years ago. But it seems in a short span of time that has really kind of flipped. And now we have TradFi, we have institutions, we have big players coming into the crypto space, and the users are actually kind of the long tail of that, it seems.
Yeah, so that's a really important point, and maybe kind of as a stat, I would argue that about 80% of my time is actually spent talking with companies outside crypto, so fintech companies, etc. My hypothesis is your next crypto app is already an app on your phone that just has a new tab for a wallet, or just has a wallet component at its next update. It's not necessarily, we don't necessarily need to introduce users to crypto, but rather, that is the default way in which you just do fintech globally, right? Like if you're going to have these two types of companies, you're going to have Web2 companies adopting crypto rails, right? And then you're going to have a bunch of new companies that are going to say, look, I don't want to build a SoFi or a Nubank or a Revolut that's limited by a geographical area because of like the rails that are available to me, but I'm going to build the same global first. So your next set of crypto apps are not necessarily just going to be your your crypto native apps, but rather your next set of neobanks and your next set of remittance apps and your next set of cash apps or Venmo like apps, etc., are just going to be global first, and that inherently means they're going to be crypto first, right? So that's kind of the hypothesis we're looking at, and we're betting on.
For the Monad community clippers who are watching this, clip that. We're getting some great takes here. That's super, super exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. Now, obviously, as a wallet that services multiple chains and someone who's really deep on the infrastructure side of things, there's obviously an opportunity cost in determining where and when to allocate resources, adding support for new chains. Very excited that Dynamic will be live on Monad from day one, but can you share what goes into that decision-making process? What was compelling enough about Monad to actually put in that work from such an early stage?
Yeah, Monad was a no-brainer for us, right? And the reason it was a no-brainer for us is the best way to make these decisions is when customers come to you and say, you got to do it, right? It makes for the easiest conversation because when I try to, you realize very quickly as a CEO, you have very limited power and you gotta convince and beg your product and engineering team to make sure that, everyone's aligned and you're actually doing the right thing because they actually think about this stuff in a logical, ROI based way. Right. And the easiest way to convince someone is say, look, I have 10 customers or 20 customers that are knocking on my door and they need this, right? And so for Monad, the decision was extremely straightforward because there's so much kind of demand for folks that want to leverage kind of all the performant nature of the chain, right? Uh, and it's doubly true in Monad land because embedded wallets or wallets in general, wallet infrastructure in general, you realize very quickly it's just an enabler, right? Like my goal is to get out of the way for folks to enable to leverage, and technically Monad's goal is to get out of the way for folks to actually build these experiences, but you can't build super fast, gaming, trading, whatever experiences, payout experiences on Monad without Monad and without the speed and performant nature of the chain. And you can't do that without abstracting away a wallet. Otherwise, you're going to get a pop-up on every signature and you're not going to have the experience you want. And so that was the way we approached it. Monad was really, there wasn't like a big discussion internally, let's vote on supporting Monad. It was extremely clear to us from day one that this is a place where we should as a company spend our time, and we see a lot of excitement from our customers, and we're selfishly very excited ourselves. So that was how we made the decision.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm pretty aligned with this idea that you're going to have built-in wallets in almost every financial app. Like for a while I've thought, all right, they put sign in with Google on everything. And now Apple Pay came out and you can use Apple Pay within almost any app, right? And it just seems like the natural next step is, all right, if you have online financial apps, you should use the best internet native money. Like it's kind of a no-brainer to me. And I've seen a lot of apps recently have even enabled, like, you can buy crypto directly with Apple Pay, right? Which
Yes.
for so long, like if I wanted to go try something out on a new chain, it's deposit cash to Coinbase, buy a coin on Coinbase, send it to my wallet, bridge, go find the DEX. And it was like a major pain point for, I guess that's more sophisticated crypto use, but a normal person would never even come close to that, right?
Yeah.
So I think making the wallet side and deposit accessible is super important. But I know a lot of people get concerned about the security side, right? Like people were like seed phrases on paper is the only way to securely store a wallet.
Yeah.
And now you have email sign-in that's linked to your credit card, and I know that gives people some worries. So how do you think about the security trade-offs around that on making it accessible but still secure for your average user?
That is a really great question. I mean, if the honest take is Dynamics really a security company. Really, what we do for a living is really think about key management on a day-to-day basis, right? The very basic level, to your point, what is a wallet? It's a private key with some sort of UI on top of it. Right? It's a private key. There's some sort of public key equivalent, and there's a UI on top of it where you can see stuff, you can see funds, send funds, etc. And the name of the game, really, in crypto, is securing your private key. Right, that is the name of the game. And to your point, you can have a seed phrase, you can write it down, you can have a ledger, you can do whatever, but the key, no pun intended, or a little bit pun intended, here is how do you secure your key? And the best way to secure a key is to not have a key at all, right? Is to not have this concept of a private key. If you don't have a private key, then there's no private key to steal. That's where technologies like TSS MPC come in, which is what we use, which is, for those that don't know, is threshold signature based multi-party computation. It's a great name, a great branding, marketing name. I highly recommend everyone to use it in daily conversations. But the way it works is to essentially say, I will independently come up with a piece of or a share of a key. You will independently come up with a share of the key. When we start, we'll have some sort of distributed key generation. So we'll coordinate between us to establish that only together can we sign and kind of act as a joint private key. But I will not tell you what I have. You will not tell me what you have. And that is really TSS MPC. It means that you have a share, I have a share. You don't know my secret, I don't know your secret. But only when we collaborate and coordinate can we act like a private key. So inherently, what that means in practice is that if I get hacked, the end user, the hacker doesn't have a full key yet, right? They only have a share. If you get hacked, they only have a share. And so we spend all our time thinking about this concept of abstracting away the complexity for you. And because of that, I can secure your share behind an email login or a Google login. I can put it in the cloud. I can do, I can put it in a bunch of spots, right? But the name of the game, key, again, second time, no pun intended, apologies, will not, for those listening, I apologize for making same joke twice. It was not great the first time and definitely not better the second time. But the important part here is that you as an end user get the experience that is no different than logging into Walmart or Target or any app today or an Uber today. But in the background, you get this super sophisticated protocol for how your private information is managed, private keys managed without having it exist at all. And that's what we do for a living. And we spend probably 50% of our engineering time thinking about how to put that in trusted execution environments, how to isolate the deployment of this, how to make sure we audit our protocols. So that's where that is dynamic, has UI and components and on-ramps and all that fun stuff. But really, if you look at our engineering allocation, at least 50% of it is spent on security and spent on actually making sure this is performant and secure.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, and I'm gonna ask a very left curve follow-up question because I am very left curve and don't understand the nuances of some of these technicalities. I think your average person can pretty clearly understand that if you split up that private key and you don't have a single attack vector by which the entire thing can get compromised in the way that you do if you are self-custodying your private key. You get hacked, someone takes that key, it's gone. You're cooked. If you split that up and say, Dynamic is custodying half the key and I, as a user, am custodying the other half of the key, how much more secure is that in practice? So say I'm a user and I get hacked and whatever component of the key that I have is cooked, right? How do you prevent that attacker from essentially tricking Dynamic into thinking that they are the real user that they're essentially misrepresenting? And how do you protect the half of the key that remains secure from falling into the wrong hands?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, just a clarification, right? There's custody is more of a compliance word. So we secure the key. We don't custody. Custody is more around shares, or money in your account. I help you secure a share of a key. And that's kind of a really an important nuance. The second important nuance, by the way, is we don't actually split the keys. Splitting keys would imply that there ever existed a key. But here we independently create shares, right? So that's another kind of two more nuances. Now,
well, I'm glad I prefaced my question with the fact that this was left curve because it was just a terrible question.
No worries. The nuance here is interesting, probably to me and no one else. But I figured I'll still mention it. Nonetheless. To your point, that is our entire business. Right, our entire business, the way first Dynamic secures its share is in a trusted execution environment. So I don't actually see the share. So it is only decrypted in a TE. I actually don't even have a key to open the TE. I kind of have brought in kind of coordination with external encryptors in order to have another layer of security. And at that point, to your point, what I do is I add another layer of auth. So I do things around 2FA and passkey, etc. So that if your local device is hacked, if somehow someone gets access to an iframe and is able to extract a key, they would need still access to your email, access to your 2FA information, and make sure they're not on a suspicious device, which we do as well, in order to actually trick dynamic into extracting a key. Meaning you need an order of magnitude more complexity in terms of trying to extract, and then you need the protocol to actually establish and recover those two shares independently of the. So there's a lot more layers of sophistication in terms of preventing attacks than you would, to your point, just having a private key on in a single location, either remotely or locally. But that level of sophistication, right? Attacks are all about trade-offs, right? And that level of complexity adds an extreme level of complexity as compared to others. That is why, by the way, and sorry for the monologue of an answer, everyone, but that is why MPC is not necessarily a private key concept only if you look at OpenAI's latest job posts on secure computing. One of their main requirements is knowledge of MPC, meaning it is a protocol. If you look at at banks JDs for what they're looking for with security engineers, etc., they look for it as MPC. It is established as kind of the gold standard for how you secure sensitive information because of these magnificent and magical properties, which is I can know a part of a secret, you can know a part of a secret, but I don't know your part, you don't know my part. And only when we collaborate can we actually extract an answer.
Gotcha.
So to summarize and translate into left curve, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you use dynamic, your funds are safe.
That is correct. But I will say one more thing, which is important, and you always have control of them, which means you can always, if you want, go to your settings, export a full key, which is the first time at this point that the key exists, and import it into MetaMask. So you have, not only are they safe, but they're extractable. Your wallet is yours, and it's extractable, and you can take it and you can delete it from dynamic, and you can make sure that you have full independence in whatever you want to do.
This is really, really cool. Appreciate you running through the left curve details for us. But I think it's good for the audience to understand what the experience is going to be like on mainnet, and when you're over the holidays undoubtedly onboarding your friends and family to Monad, you can give them assurances that it is accessible. It is not rocket science to set up a wallet, and there is a high degree of security, and one that is orders of magnitude better than the standard we've seen in previous years in crypto. So this is truly quite exciting, and really appreciate you taking the time to join us today on Monad in the Morning and run through it. I know we're technically over the time slot here, and you're a busy guy. You probably have to hop, but we do tend to leave an open floor for our guests at the end of each segment for what we call final alpha. Any tidbit of wisdom you would like to leave the community with. It doesn't have to be alpha in the traditional crypto sense. It can be just a parting word of advice or something that you're finding interesting right now. Anything that's on your mind.
Yeah, I'll say two things. First, I will say it is happening now. All the things are happening now, meaning, we're going to see an acceleration of fintechs and Web2 companies entering the space, and everyone has to be ready for it. Everyone has to kind of leave their shell of crypto native, non-crypto native. Crypto rails are now just global financial rails, and take that into account, embrace and bring everyone with a kind of welcome everyone with open arms. And the second thing, I would not be a founder if I don't shamelessly say that if you want to read more about Dynamic, you can go to dynamic.xyz. You can reach out to us. We love to jam about this stuff. As I mentioned earlier, we are extremely bullish on the Monad community, and we're here to support. So if you want to create magical Monad experiences and abstract away the complexity of wallets or anything like that, we can take care of that for you, so you can focus on building cool stuff. Again, I wanted to use more aggressive words, but let's call it stuff versus anything else. But yeah, those are kind of my two shameless points.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. For anyone tuning in, be sure to go follow at dynamic_XYZ, I believe is the main Twitter, as well as Itai at TURBAHN. Itai, huge pleasure, huge honor to have had you on the show today. We'll have to get you back soon, as there's going to be a lot coming down the pipeline, no pun intended, for Monad Mainnet experience, dynamic experience. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll catch you soon. And for the community who is tuning in, it is that time on Thursday. Let's dig out the wheel.
Do you want to do it today, or do you want to do it tomorrow?
You want to spin the wheel tomorrow?
I mean, it's 12:05.
Are you coming in tomorrow to custody the wheel?
I could probably bring the wheel. Oh, are you going to be here tomorrow, Jack?
I'll be here. I get to spin the wheel?
What do you think?
Let's do some rapid fire wheel spins, because I don't think we didn't hit on too many community questions. We've got 1, 2. I have 3 on my radar. So
somebody said that the reason we don't want to spin is because I got to poop.
Well,
that's why we had a looped intermission.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for calling that out.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's going to really help get the TradFi audience on this show. All right. We have our handy dandy wheel, and we got some great questions from the community. First up, we have IOBNAD, EYOBNAD. Not sure if I pronounced it correctly, but I did, so that's your name. IBONAD. How do you maintain liquidity and security across 53 blockchains? That was a good question for Marco from Jumper. IBONAD, this one's for you. What do we got? Respin. Respin. Do it again. It almost hit again.
Yeah, I know.
APAC follow, IBONAD, getting the follow from the highly coveted Monad APAC account.
I'm not even followed by the APAC account.
You didn't win the spin.
Blocked.
You're blocked?
Yeah.
What did you do to get the block?
I didn't like Kunal's tweets.
Well, I guess that's what happens. You got to like the APAC account's tweets, otherwise you will be blocked. Good to know. All right, next up, Decatan. Jack, want to hit it?
Monad swag.
There's no way Decatan doesn't already have Monad swag, but in case you don't, we'll send you a nice package of Monad swag. There are no duplicates for Monad swag. There are no trades. There are no, hey, I already have swag, but I'm going to just invent my own prize. That is not how it works. Thank you, though. All right, next up we have It's Nacho79. Nacho gets seemingly.
I think he's had everything on the wheel.
But the thing is, like, He's showing up, he's asking good questions, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So if you do those things, you will get a spin on the wheel.
Every single time we say his name, I just think of the Nacho Libre, just like Nacho.
Of course. It's
Every
a great
time.
name. It's a great name. It's Nacho 79. What do we got? VIP. And Savant has told me that I have a couple other VIPs to add. So Jibs and from_SA will also be getting the VIP role. I know we're over time here, but I got to make sure we give love to the Clippers. And there's a new Clipper account that has popped up. It is the Creeper account, very Minecraft theme, but ripping some good clips. So this one is for Creeper. Let's see. What do we got? What is Creeper got?
Plushie.
Hey,
Wow, Creeper's getting a plushie.
big win.
Big win for sure. Shout out Creeper. I think we posted at least one of the recent shorts, if not more than that. If you are clipping, it's probably the best time ever to be a clipper on Monad in the morning. I may update that statement at some point in the future, but there, from the beginning of time to now, this next couple weeks and months is going to be the highest amount of attention that Monad has ever had since the beginning of time. And you, as a Monad superfan, an enjoyer of Monad in the morning, as an ecosystem contributor and participant, you have the opportunity to capitalize on all that attention. There are a lot of great moments to clip, not only from Monad in the morning, but from other content that's popping up from ecosystem projects, from other streams, and you can become a shelling point for Monad news, updates, and alpha. Just like the pipeline, all you got to do is clip it and post it. And if you want to learn how to create better clips and better content overall, I think we got something for you tomorrow, right, Joseph?
Yeah, tomorrow we have C coming on. She is a longtime YouTuber. I believe she is the largest female YouTuber in Portugal with over 1 million subs, and then has been in the Web3 space for quite a while. So she's been doing Web3 content, and gonna be a banger creator stream. So bring your questions tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern, live on the pipeline, all things creators. And gotta give Jack a shout out for holding down the fort here on Monad in the Morning in the co-host seat. If you have comments or reviews on Jack's performance today, please feel free to comment your thoughts below the pipeline's tweet for this live stream, and we will be sure to review and rate his performance.
Should I share some airdrop alpha with them?
Yeah.
I mean, the claim claim date was announced today. I think anyone staying here until 10 minutes overtime probably deserves a little alpha. So this is straight from Bill Mondays himself. I'm not involved in the process. I don't know how any of this is going to work, but you've heard the claim is going to be a little different than usual. So little alpha is you will connect your soul to the Monad blockchain directly via proprietary cable made by our quants, and it will analyze your character, intentions, beliefs. So don't worry about the roles. Worry about your soul, your character, and stick around for